We now come to the sixth pillar of this 7-pillar series. A series of short biblical stories, which I would hope may be some kind of encouragement and support and even a little inspiration. And what I've called this pillar is simply this, the face that speaks volumes. Now, remarkable as it may seem, it's the face of a man I have never seen, and yet through faith I have seen. And furthermore, through the Bible I have seen. It's the face of Jesus Christ. In Luke's Gospel, chapter 9, verse 30, we have the story of Jesus as a babe, an infant, coming to the temple for the dedication service, as was the custom in that day. He was placed into the hands of Simeon, who was the senior elder, a man ripe himself in old age. And before performing the ceremony, Simeon was heard to make this prayer: Lord, lettest now thy servant depart in peace, for mine eyes have seen thy salvation. So what I'm suggesting to you is this: here we have a saving face. Further on, we learn in the same gospel that whilst the shadows were hovering over Jerusalem, and the accusers and tormentors and mockers were collecting by the hordes, Jesus was quite well aware of the fate before him. Nevertheless, he set his face steadfast to go to Jerusalem. Then if we move over to the Gospel of John, chapter 19, verse 9, we see a prophecy of Isaiah coming to fruition. For Jesus was hauled before his accusers in the great judgment hall, like a sheep before her shearers is dumb, so he openeth not his mouth. Isaiah pictured this scene long before it ever took place. As they ranted and raved with their accusations, he stood with his mouth closed, opening not his mouth in that great judgment hall. And here before me I see a silent face. In John 19 and verse 18, we learn that a few hours after the judgment hall experience, he was dragged or hauled outside the city to the place called Calvary, there to be hung, there to be crucified. And they weren't finished with their mocking, because they made up a crown of thorns, and the thorns in that area were 1 inch to 1.5 inches long, and they pressed it upon his brow and his face until the blood flowed freely. Before me here I see a scarred face. A saving face, steadfast face, a scarred face. This of a man who was suspected before the cross, subjected to the cross, suspended from the cross. But I wouldn't be fulfilling this short speech if I didn't come to a conclusion. And for this we have to turn to the book of Revelation. Remember that book with the grotesque scenes and the pictures of symbolism? The book that contains 7 statements which are beatitudes, and the book, and listen to this, which contains a curse. 22 verses 18 to 19, which, if I may paraphrase it, is literally saying, woe betide those who add to this prophecy or take away. It's in this book from chapter 11 onwards where we see another picture of the face of Jesus, the judgment day. And here I see a solemn face. And this is the time where no matter whether you're a prince or a pauper, whether you're rich or poor, whether you're intellectual or not, every knee shall bow. And it's only by the grace of God that we shall avoid the severity of his judgment. I want to make it easier to you. That short word grace can be defined like this: God's riches at Christ's expense. One of the most gracious servants I have ever known, and known only by reading, was the Reverend Murray McShane, a Church of Scotland minister up in the north-east of Scotland, who took upon himself not only members of his own parish, but he extended his parish to all that he could think of in the community and further afield. After his sudden and early death, 29 years of age, visitors flocked to his church to find out more about Murray McShane. And this particular day, the church officer, the beadle he was called in that day, was showing him around. And when they arrived at the vestry, they asked him almost in one voice, what kind of man was Murray McShane? And the curator said to them, right, one of you at the desk in the vestry here. So one of them jumped and sat down. Now he says, open the Bible that's on the desk. A huge Bible. So they opened it. Then they were asked, put your elbows either side of the Bible and put your head in your hands and weep. Now he said, that was Murray McShane. And the person was about to rise. No, just sit and look at the pages of the Bible. And when they did, true enough, they could see tear stains on the very pages of the Bible. Let me close this short story by asking you this, or commenting. I'm sure you're aware that an article in use every day doesn't need dusting. May I ask you, does your Bible need dusting? Thank you for watching this with me and sharing in these thoughts.